Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Monday Musings-Danny SportsWrap, presented by NoNonsenseHealthCareNinja.com, and happy Labor Day to you today. Hope you had a great Labor Day weekend, another warm day, and Labor Day, of course, is always seen as the unofficial end of summer. Well, it's really going to feel like maybe the official end of summer because we get a hot day today, and then by Wednesday it's going to be 55, followed by a string of 60s and 70s. So is fall here to stay? Probably not in the way the vagaries of the weather go these days, but we certainly are moving from summer, and maybe sports-wise too, as of course this Thursday everybody in Kansas City is so excited to get the pro football season going on, and just a couple days later college football will begin, and I guess it comes at a good time. The other form of football, Sporting Kansas City, they're still in first place, but they have shown some signs of wear the last few games. And as far as the real summer sport, obviously compromised in many ways this year, but baseball, the Royals have conspired to really make themselves their last few weeks of the season, which at some point in time, maybe back before we started, actually, that there was the sense that maybe August baseball and September baseball could have some real significance, but the Royals, with a bunch of losses and not competitive ones recently, have sort of paved the way for everybody's attention to turn to football, as if it wasn't going to anyway, with the world champion Chiefs getting ready to rock and roll it against the Houston Texans on Thursday night, with the eyes of the nation maybe more than ever on the National Football League as we get set to roll. There's all kinds of things going on in sports. We came to the conclusion of the golf season yesterday, sort of officially, unofficially, the way the weird calendar is working these days. Of course, a major is coming up, but the end of the 1920 season will come today. As a matter of fact, it didn't come over the weekend. It was coming to an end today, and we'll talk about Dustin Johnson and his chance for dominance, and another FedEx Cup winner who may indeed win the Player of the Year without winning a major, although there's a couple majors still left in this calendar year. We'll have to wait and see. Unbelievably surprising news in the world of tennis, and very controversial as well. All kinds of things on the plate as we get ready for another edition of Monday Musings, Danny Sports Wrap. It's all presented by NoNonsenseHealthCareNinja.com. See Chad Beisel for all of your healthcare needs and to make yourself feel better about that difficult area of our lives. NoNonsenseHealthCareNinja.com. They're the sponsor. We get rolling next. It's time now to get some great assistance on healthcare with Chad Beisel from NoNonsenseHealthCareNinja.com. And Chad, even your business's name would indicate that you have a real aggressive way and an important way to go after some health insurance for your clients.
What I've found out in the industry is just a lot of people are really confused. They don't know what plans are good, what their plans offer, how they cover. And so I've just taken the approach of being really educated on what options are available to clients and showing them all the options that are available and making sure they understand them so they can pick and choose what options are good for them.
And one thing that's really important, of course, is access to doctors and hospitals.
Absolutely. That's becoming a big issue for a lot of people. Some of the plans out there are going to restrict those clients to where they can and cannot go. So if you live just outside the Kansas City metro, some of the counties outside, you may not be able to go to some of the hospitals up here in the Kansas City area. So making sure that you have a plan that's got doctors and hospitals and places you want to go is really, really important today.
Learn more by visiting NoNonsenseHealthCareNinja.com and let Chad help you. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092. Firsthand, I have enjoyed the benefits of the CBD products from Canaway. My back feels better and better these days, as a major part of my routine are the pain-relieving salve and the Pure Gold oil. And recently, I had the pleasure of a treatment session using the Canaway CBD in conjunction with the Microlight 830 cold laser. The non-invasive treatment session worked wonders, and I could barely tell I was even being touched. TML 830 is the first 3B cold laser to get FDA approval, and in addition, the combination treatment with CBD is patent pending. The new Smart Laser is the only hands-free cold laser in the world and is used by athletic trainers, chiropractors, MDs, physical therapists, and veterinarians everywhere. You can learn more about all the great benefits from the complete line of Canaway CBD products by contacting my friend Sherry McCants at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312 to get outstanding information about Canaway.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back, and well, there'll only be about 17,000 people in attendance, but at one point in time, maybe we thought there'd be nobody in attendance when the Kansas City Chiefs started up their season. We'll see how that particular aspect of opening night works, but the Chiefs as a 10-point favorite against another team which is expected to be perhaps a playoff team will start a season in which you really could say that it's much easier to mount a case for the Chiefs that they would go undefeated than to mount a case that they would, say, lose the division or win 9 or 10 games. I'm not going to go out and say that they can win every game. It's only been done once, basically, when it's been a 16-game season, and when you've got those kind of odds and you've got a team in the New England Patriots which has won 6 Super Bowls and played in a really kind of non-competitive division all those times, and they did it that time once. I'm not going to argue that it can happen, but the Chiefs are going to be favored probably in every single game, maybe not the game at Baltimore. We'll have to wait and see, but I have a sense that the Chiefs are going to turn this regular season into one big party. I don't think we're likely to see some bumps in the road, except if it is virus-related. Obviously, your quarterback comes down with a virus, 4 or 5 key players come down with the virus, and you're playing teams that are at their full strength. You certainly could have some potential issues there, but if it's just purely based on football, I can't really summon up much criticism what the Chiefs have done, what they look like. Yes, some people are concerned that the running it back mentality might lead to a little bit of malaise or something like that. I don't really see that either. I think that Andy Reid is going to be fired up to make plays and design things for this toy box that he's got, which only gets even better by adding the running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And Patrick Mahomes is still in the younger part of his career where great quarterbacks don't really ever seem to need much motivation. They go out and do it year after year after year, but certainly he is young and enthusiastic and fired up about trying new things. So it all looks just about as good as you can imagine for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they made all their cuts over the weekend. They're ready to get into game mode. It's a game that will really be able to tell you a lot about the Chiefs right out of the box because it's a quality opponent that undoubtedly will be unbelievably highly motivated after what happened to them in a playoff game, and it really is building up to a tremendous amount of excitement for that opening game. And in my estimation, I think the Chiefs are going to look great in that opening game, and that's only going to create further incredible intensity and enthusiasm from the fan base, and the national attention will be something that Kansas City can soak up, because in the minds of many people here in flyover country, we don't get it that much. The National Football League, to me, is the sports exception to that. If you're a good team, it doesn't matter if you're in Green Bay or Nashville or any other small market per se. If you are a great football team, and if you have great football players, and if you have the biggest star in the game, you're going to get all the attention that you deserve, and no complaints can be had there. The Chiefs really are kind of standing pat in many ways. They didn't really go out and make that many acquisitions outside the organization. Most of the work they did was signing the players that they have. It looks like at least 17 starters will be the same. The only big news, if he even was big, in the final cuts was that Breland Speaks, once the highest draft choice the Chiefs had in the season, a second-round draft choice that year, he was cut. And so to get a sense of the roster breakdown, no better man to go to than General Manager Brett Veach, who obviously is getting all the accolades as well. And he starts talking about some of the roster construction as the Chiefs head to opening day by discussing the cutting of Breland Speaks.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was certainly a unique scenario where of all the positions, and I certainly think we have a very good roster, talented roster. That defensive line position is probably our deepest position. With Breland, different scheme when we got here, and I thought he and our staff really thought his rookie year did some things that you can really lay a foundation on. And we all know that he came in a little out of shape the next year, and then he had the injury. So I think when you get behind the eight ball in professional football, it's tough, and then when you get behind the eight ball on a roster with a deep defensive line, it's even tougher. We'll say this, credit to the kid, he did come in shape and worked hard to get that weight off. Again, he was just up against a very deep and talented defensive line class, and in our staff and both coaching and personnel staff, and we're always committed to doing what we feel is best for the team and playing the best players and the guys that were on our active roster. We felt that day by day and the way they graded out that they just performed better and they deserve to be on the team.
Let's go to Herbie. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Brett, good morning. You mentioned wanting to make the roster better as the season goes on. And yesterday at the deadline, the league-wide deadline, you had some intriguing names out there from Lamar Miller, Clowney, Devonta Freeman, Adrian Peterson, Sidney Jones. How much does the protocols as far as COVID testing and then even the Thursday night game affect how you approach free agency this first weekend? And Brad, I'll probably have a follow-up to that.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and we even talked about some of these guys that we're identifying for the practice squad, not even having them here. As you mentioned, Herbie, these guys will have to go through, I believe, 2 days of testing, and once these guys clear waivers, if they're on the street, then it's going to be 3 days. So it certainly puts us in a bind where the guys that you want to bring in, either on the active or practice squad, there's going to be a delay in that. I would say, to answer your question, all that goes into play, certainly the delay in regards to when we can get them. I think the one good thing, and we've talked about this yesterday, was having a Thursday game will help us moving forward. So we'll be able to utilize those 2 or 3 days of COVID testing with the extended weekend. So that will be a benefit, having a Thursday practice, to be able to kind of recalibrate our roster, both active and practice squad, knowing that we can get guys in over the weekend and knock tests out. But I would say it all comes into play, the contract, injury history, and then the COVID testing, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and Brett, here's a follow-up. I'm glad you touched on that, Brett, because last year you were able to bring in guys like Mike Pennell, Wisniewski, Damone Harris, even Suggs late in the season. How much do you think the COVID protocols will limit what you will be able to try to do during the season?
I don't know if it will limit to the extent of not doing things. It will just delay their ability to get on the field and help us as quickly. I think that's the big thing. I think when there's a need, unless the need or the injury or the scenario that you encounter is only a 1 week or 2 week injury. I mean, when you talk about some of the moves we made, I mean, we had, like, on the offensive line, we had guys that, like, Rankin missed the season. We had guys like, Okafor missed the season. So you're still going to have to make those moves. Unfortunately, for us and for really all teams, there's going to be a delay in regards to how quickly those guys can get acclimated and get on the field.
Go to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Brad, how are you today?
Good, Adam. How you doing?
Hey, one question about Breland Speaks and one on another subject. First on Speaks, he came in, as you mentioned, he played a different position. And last year he missed all year because of the injury. And then this year with the shortened camp and no preseason games, was there any thought among you or your staff that maybe you didn't give him a fair chance? And Brad, I'll have one more thing to follow up.
Well, I think that, to your question, Adam, guys certainly handle rehab situations differently and how they come back. Everyone kind of progresses at different rates. And listen, without having any medical documentation in front of me, I would say that bigger people, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, are probably a little bit slower to come back in regards to skill players, running backs, receivers, safeties, what have you. But again, you go back to the scenario in which we were in. He did come back into camp and lost weight and was healthy and was able to practice throughout the course of the preseason. And, he worked hard to put himself in that position. So when guys are ready to go, we defer to the medical expertise of our staff, and we let them go out there and compete and see how everything shakes out. Again, it certainly did put him behind the eight ball in that regard. Not having a year of football is, again, certainly going to be tough. And then when you throw in the factor of having, Clark and Tano and Okafor, Taco had a good camp. Obviously, he made the roster, and Mike Dana had a really good camp. So it was just one of those scenarios for him where, having the year off, having to go through a lengthy rehab process and going out there competing against a deep defensive line was a tough ask, and he competed his tail off, and I'm sure he'll learn a lot from this experience here, and it'll help him in the future. And I'm sorry, your second question was?
Cornerback. I thought because of Bashaud Breeland's suspension, maybe you guys would have made a move for a veteran guy like you have the last couple of years, but you didn't, although I know you still could. But it certainly looks at this point like the guys you have on the roster right now will be the guys you go with, at least against Houston. So I just wondered what you saw from guys like Fenton and Hamilton and Snead during camp the last month or so that leads you to be pretty confident they'll hold up well.
Yeah, well, we were certainly encouraged by the way these guys played. And Adam, most of you guys have seen these guys kind of grow and develop. And I would say to your question that we obviously always keep open dialogue, and we're always looking to improve our roster. And that was probably something on our mind early on in camp. And as camp progressed and these guys really start to make some big movements in regards to their development, we became encouraged. Now, with Bashaud Breeland being out 4 weeks, we're all aware there could be some growing pains and some lumps along the way. Think back to Charvarius Ward when he was kind of forced into the action his rookie year, and he learned a lot in that Seattle game that kind of attacked him. But he continued to grow and develop, and then that Colts playoff game, he built on that, and he continues to grow and develop into one of the better corners out there. So I think we're kind of looking at it in regards to that growth and maturation process with these guys, where we've seen it already in camp with guys like Snead, Fenton in his second year. Keys was out there a little late. Hamilton we just got. But these guys have gotten better and better every week. And knowing the scheme and being in the Zoom meetings all off season and knowing what our coaches are asking them, that's going to be hard to replicate in a short amount of time. We'll always continue to look what's out there and if we can get better and how we can get better. But we feel like we have some good young corners, and again, there'll be some learning and growth early on. But with Ward being an established corner and Snead and Keys, we feel like those guys are going to be pretty good players, and we're excited about Hamilton, what he can do in all phases of the game. So we'll continue to monitor that situation, but I think we're happy with the competition and the talent right now.
I imagine he's got that sense of containment about a whole lot of things as far as his football team is concerned, and they'll be all on display on Thursday night as the biggest event of the night. Well, in America, that Sunday Night Football crew and everything else, that's the number one rated show in television. all the time, not just sports. So the Chiefs will be on display for the nation to see. College football started to get a little display over this weekend. There's a primetime football game tonight in college football, forging ahead in a unique way, of course, as about everything is in 2020. 2 of the 5 major conferences not playing football. Campuses seeing challenges as students return to class, and some of them to actual classwork in person. That varies across the country wildly as well, and we'll see how this all plays out from a football standpoint, but a lot of football this weekend. The area teams getting into action. Seasons changed. Length of seasons changed. Almost all conference games, if not all conference games, it all will be on display there. And I'm happy to talk about the fact that for the 21st straight year, Stan Weber and I will talk about college football and College Football Game Day on Sports Radio 810 WHB. And, of course, we'll have some other announcements as far as football coverage right here at DannyKlinkscale.com coming up as well. Well, that's football, and there's a lot going on there, but there's a potpourri of other things going on around the world of sports. Let's check some of those out coming up next on Monday Musings-Danny SportsWrap, right here at the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. It's all presented by NoNonsenseHealthCareNinja.com.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And, Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices. And we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. I just want to thank everybody for supporting local restaurants during this time of uncertainty. 23rd Street Brewery is now open until this pandemic is over. And right now, more than anything, local restaurants need your help and support. Come on out and see us. 23rd Street Brewery is open now from 11:30 till 9 o'clock for dine-in and carry-out. Whatever we can do to help you out, maybe with your catering needs, too. I appreciate all the support. And thank you for continuing to shop local.
Let's spend a minute with Dr. Brad Woodle, who, along with his wife, Dr. Christina Woodle, the owners of Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture, my home for chiropractic care. And first of all, just tell us about the wide range of services you offer.
Danny, we offer comprehensive chiropractic, acupuncture, physiotherapy, and rehab. We do a very thorough examination, x-rays on site as necessary, and we have a full rehabilitation department, so we can help out with exercises, stretches, different therapies for the complex, but also the very simple conditions we treat.
You have been deemed essential and have remained open all through this COVID-19 process. What are some of the things you've done to make sure that was the case?
From the very beginning, in March, we started to make sure that we were cleaning and sanitizing with EPA-registered sanitizing products. We also implemented masks way before the state required them. We implemented a parking lot waiting room, took out half of the chairs in our waiting room, and made sure to space out visits so we could appropriately meet, discuss, and also screen patients to make sure we were taking care of healthy people.
Find out more about Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture and how they can help you at ASFCA.com. Most of us have experienced auto accidents, and it's no fun. And even less fun is trying to work on the insurance aspects afterwards and getting full value after an auto accident. I'm here with David Cowan from WreckExpert.com. And David, you have an unusual and important niche for people after an auto accident.
We have a passion to teach car wreck clients what they deserve. Getting your car repaired only fixes the damage and the paint. Getting paid for your car's loss in value is called diminished value. Chances are you've never heard of this before because most people aren't looking out for you. We help people collect thousands to tens of thousands of dollars for their car's loss in value after the wreck.
And if somebody wants to come to you for that, what's the original assessment cost them?
We offer a free review of any insurance claim to see how we can help.
You can't beat that. Great expertise and assistance in getting full value after an auto accident. From David Cowan, Visit recexpert.com and learn more. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back, and it really couldn't have gone any worse here in 2020 for the Kansas City Royals. They end up playing in a division where 3 teams are playing over 600 baseball. Part of that is because the Royals are so bad themselves. The Chicago White Sox completed a sweep of the Royals yesterday. They won 9 of the 10 games between the two teams. That'll fatten your record up a bit. They won all 7 games at Kauffman Stadium this year, and the games over the weekend were really not competitive. For a while there, the Royals could moan and groan and complain about the tight ones that got away. Well, right now they've lost 6 games in a row, and they've lost them by an average of 5 runs, and that is just getting splattered in baseball, and really almost nothing is going right. The occasional glimpse of good things from a young starting pitcher, but even Bubic's performance the other day, although there were unearned runs tossed in, 3 of the unearned runs came because he gave up a home run. Now, should he have been out of the inning? Yes, but you don't give up a home run just because you have to get 4 outs. But even Whit Merrifield isn't hitting right now, so the news is really kind of all bad for the Royals, and it really will be, barring now a rash of good things that happen in the last few weeks of the season, while nobody's paying attention and in games that are basically irrelevant. I don't really know how you're going to build much of a case that the Royals gain much at all from 2020. Yes, they got some young starting pitchers who got their feet wet, but all their minor leaguers didn't really get to play. They've just been off at another camp, and many of those players at lower levels not even really doing much of that. So you see articles about professional baseball players at the AA level or lower, AAA, who aren't on 60-man rosters, who are working out in this area against each other. Those are the challenges that those type of players face. So the Royals will sort of pass away from the consciousness of the area sports fan as the Chiefs get into action, and it almost is sort of a blessing in disguise that they're not going to have fans in the stands, because there sure as heck wouldn't be many fans in the stands if the Royals were playing baseball. In fact, they maybe could just go to the mayor right now and say, you know what, why don't we have fans in the stands, because we're not going to have that many anyway, and we'll be able to space them out just mighty nice here at Kauffman Stadium. I don't think that's going to happen, but the Royals, for a while there, battling. You saw some signs of life. Maybe 20, 25 games in, I was still saying that I thought the Royals were better than their record. In the end, it's not going to be that way. This 2020 season is only going to create a scenario, really, that this is going to be, if even successful, period, a much longer-term thing than the Royals would want, their fans would want, and really anybody who observes and wants great Major League Baseball or competitive Major League Baseball here in Kansas City wants to see. The Chiefs haven't started, so we do have a first-place team in Kansas City right now, and it's Sporting Kansas City. But because of the delays and balks and everything else right now, the picture for Sporting Kansas City isn't bright, even though they're still in first place, as they haven't won in their last 4 games. They lost over the weekend to Houston 2-1. That makes it 2 consecutive losses against a team that's sort of a rival of theirs by a count of 7-3. Recently, the Sporting Kansas City has had to play a whole bunch of games. They've got a lot of nagging injuries. They've had to make a lot of roster changes, and the game against Houston kind of reflective of that. They got an early goal, but Houston looked to the better team much of the night and scored a late winner to pull out a 2-1 victory. And Sporting, as I said, can lean on the fact that some of these players like Roger Espinoza and Alan Polito are going to come back soon, and the Sporting Kansas City club is going to get a little bit of a breather for a change, as they don't play until Sunday. But Peter Vermees assesses the loss on Saturday night and the vagaries of it, and you could tell maybe a little more downbeat Peter Vermees than we usually hear, as he talked about a mixed bag of a performance down in Houston.
Dog for maybe about 60 minutes of the game, we were pretty organized. Obviously, we got the goal. Took a little pressure off. I would probably state that we started to probably get a little tired, tried to make some subs, tried to change the team around, went to 5 in the back, try to deal with some of the, we knew what's going to happen. They were going to come forward with a lot of people, but we couldn't close the game out, unfortunately.
Our first question will go to Sean Goodwin with the Kansas City Star. Sean, your line is open.
Hey Peter, Amadou Dia getting his first start tonight. I think the first goal he got pulled inside a little bit, but aside from that, he did a pretty good job containing Houston's wingers. Would you agree? And just his overall performance tonight?
Yeah, I really agree with what you said. I think you hit it. I think he did on that first goal. I think he did get drawn inside. I thought for the majority of the game, though, he's pretty good defensively against those guys. I thought he was pretty good, and that's the number one priority of his position and his role, to make sure he defends well. He did a good job there.
And then just the same deal with Hurtado getting his first start as well. Obviously grabs a goal. He obviously offers something a little bit different going Polizzo. His game tonight as well.
Yeah, look, we had some ideas about how he could get in behind them on some of the counters. I think they do a good job defensively. They fight for every ball. They compete. I think Eric was opportunistic on the goal. I think that he had a decent game. It was good, and it was good for him to get the goal for us. It's unfortunate that it couldn't hold up.
Any final questions from the group? You have one from Kyle Pennell. Kyle, your line is open.
Thank you. Hi, Peter. There was a couple of times throughout the night where it seemed that Houston was able to find space in behind and one resulted in a goal. What did you see in those situations, and was it a little concerning to kind of see them find those open spaces a couple of times as the night went on?
Well, just so you're clear, on the first couple in the first half, they were all sides. I spoke to the fourth official. He said that they had them as all sides. Once nothing came of it, I think one of them turned into a goal kick, so they just left it alone. The other one, Timmy made the save and held on to the ball, but they were all sides. The one I would say they got in behind us was the one what you were talking about earlier with with Dia, Amadou Dia, when he came inside and the ball was played over the top. That was the one that unfortunately we're in close proximity to our goal, and we should have done much better in that situation as a team, defending that.
I believe the question was playing five at the back, and just the situation that called for that, or what made that tactical change?
Yeah, we just wanted to get more pressure on their wingers outside late in the game, and that was a big thing for us. So that's why we went to five at the back. That was really it.
For the first time in a while, Sporting does not have a midweek game, and of course, because of the truncated season, they likely will have mostly midweek games. The schedule hasn't been shoring up as far as MLS is concerned, but Sporting Kansas City looking for a return to form, but looking for a return to form with still enough cushion in their pockets that they are still a first-place team. First place at the U.S. Open Men's Tennis Championships is going to go to somebody unfamiliar. And in all likelihood, somebody, and almost certainly, somebody who has never won a major before, because Roger Federer's not there, Rafael Nadal's not there, and now Novak Djokovic is not there in the most bizarre of circumstances, as Djokovic, who has had a lot of things go the other way, and there's a lot of negativity around him right now. He tried to stage a tennis series against what most people thought was really good idea, good science, too soon. Most of the players, if not all, that participated in his exhibition series a couple months back got the virus, and he was criticized heavily for that. He's been trying to change the structure of the players' union. There's been a lot of blowback on that, and he travels with a large team, and now he can't really do that. So a lot of things were boiling up around Djokovic, and early in his match, things were not going swimmingly, and he lost a point, turned around and banged, and it wasn't just sort of softly hitting the ball towards a linesperson. He kind of hit it with some gusto and hit a lady in the throat, and she had some trouble breathing. And there is an absolute rule in place that if you hit a linesperson in anger, which he did, that you're disqualified. Would many people like to see perhaps a player of that magnitude get a pass? He was the undisputed favorite in the tournament. He opened at 4-5, which is unheard of in a sport like tennis where you have to win each individual match. And then by the time the quarters roll around, he was 4-11 favorite. And I heard more than one prognosticator, even at the outset of the tournament, say that they would take him against the field. And now he is out, so it's a wide-open U.S. Open. It has created a lot of controversy. Sometimes you have to have things like this happen to get sports like tennis to get into the mainstream coverage of the sport. Was it an unlucky occurrence? Yes. Ball's 4 inches to the right, 4 inches to the left. He doesn't hit the lady. Almost hit somebody earlier in the tournament. Even John McEnroe, who sort of coyly in an interview I saw said, I have some experience in getting in trouble on the court. He begrudgingly had to say that it was the right thing to do. Billie Jean King said the same thing. It's a rule. If the 100th player in the world had done it and somebody wasn't favored, they would have gotten disqualified. He gets disqualified. Does it seem a little ticky-tack? Yes, it does. But there's a rule in place, and he knows it, and he knows that you just can't go banging balls around the court and have the potential for a lady to really have something serious happen to her. Obviously, she regained her breath, but she was having trouble breathing for a while. And, a tennis ball fired at even probably that one, the way he hit it was 75 miles an hour maybe. That can be something serious. So a bizarre situation at the U.S. Open. Everything's bizarre in 2020. They're playing it with no fans, and now somebody will win a championship that they will treasure forever. But will people remember that person or remember that championship in the right way? Probably not. It will be more the tournament that Djokovic got kicked out of than whoever wins the championship will be recognized for. Today, very likely to win the FedEx Cup Championship is Dustin Johnson. He has a 5-shot lead. By the time you hear this, you may know who was the victor in this. He's got some very talented players chasing him down. Dustin Johnson has a history both of blowing away fields in situations like this and winning by, say, 11, which he did a couple of weeks ago, or blowing the lead. He's done that a few times, too. He did it at the U.S. Open a few years back. He did it at a HSBC tournament in China a couple of years ago, where he had a 6-shot lead entering the final round. He didn't win last week with a 54-hole lead. He has his 4th straight 54-hole lead. Mentioned it last week. Golf is just such a crazy game. He went through about a year's period of, by his standards, playing pretty lackluster golf and kind of capped it off about 6 weeks ago or so, I believe that's the time frame, by shooting 80 back-to-back in 2 rounds and missing the cut at a tournament. And now here he is at the top of the golfing world, looking at the height of his powers. And with a couple of majors coming up, it's certainly good timing for Dustin Johnson, a very interesting and enigmatic type of figure in the world of tennis. He's won a whole pile of tournaments, but he's only won 1 major, and only 1 major is the proper way of putting it. A person of his talent should have more majors than that. He's going to be a Hall of Famer no matter what. Some people have made the Golf Hall of Fame without even winning a major, and he's won a whole pile of tournaments. So he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Should he bag another major or 2 before he's done? He should. And if he gets to, say, even 3, then he would shoot way, way up the list of the all-time greats with the kind of record he has, but with the unbelievable talent he has. He's probably been, remarkably enough, with winning over 20 tournaments and winning a major, a bit of an underachiever, and he can certainly start to change that narrative a little bit over the next couple of months, because likely he will win the FedEx Cup, and then he will be considered one of the big favorites in both the U.S. Open, which is coming right up, and then the Masters in November, as 2 more majors in this calendar year and 6 majors in the 2021 calendar year in the world of golf. It'll be chock full of excitement there. See if DJ gets it done today, or did get it done today, depending on when you hear this. And, of course, next week we'll be able to talk about a college football weekend, the Chiefs, all kinds of different things. How much will we talk about the Royals? Probably a little, at least a little. And there'll be another sporting game in the books as well, and maybe some oddities like Novak Djokovic produced over the weekend as well. Always thanks for tuning in. We got great stuff this week coming up in the music scene, and another great profile, and many things on the docket. We always provide lots of entertainment and information for you here at DannyKlinkSkill.com and the Reasonably Irreverent Podcast, and we appreciate you listening, and so long for now.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klink-Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com, specializing in expert healthcare guidance and assistance for you.